It's been a few weeks since you've seen this 2012 Honda Goldwing, which I acquired in the spring when I traded my 2004 ST1300 PanEuropean for it. All of you liked that first video, and a number of you joined the channel community as a result, so thank you for that. Video likes, your subscriptions, and shares help get this video shown to other like-minded folks, so please, keep it up. After sorting out the Goldwing and getting it started, I was at a bit of a crossroad. I could probably sell the bike and move on to another newer bike, or dive in and go for a complete restoration. If you missed the first video in the series, check it out and get the full story as to how the bike wound up in its current state. The majority of you who voted on the community page thought I was crazy to trade my perfectly good ST1300 bike for this, albeit low mileage wing that had been crashed by the previous owner. But hey.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
In the end, I decided it was too early to cut bait on this project and wanted to see just how difficult it would be to put the bike back on the road. The biggest attractant for the bike, besides being a wing with navigation, heated seats, ABS, and a clean title, was the incredibly low miles it had. At less than 3,000 miles, I mean, how could you not want to ride this machine? And immediately, I thought about some serious long-distance runs this Goldwing I could do. I wound up spending about $1,500 in parts to get to this next step in the process. With the mileage displayed and dash functional when I started it, I needed to confirm I could economically repair this area around the front of the bike. I ordered up 2 front fairing stays, plus the plastic cases that hold the clocks and LCD screen. The gauge cluster pieces are sold independently from Honda, and if the dash with its 3,000 miles can be reassembled, this would be a big factor in either selling the bike in its as-is state or venturing on with full repairs. I took the time to clean the gauges when reassembling the dash and didn't see anything internally that was broken on the cluster or LCD screen. Salvaging what I could from the old dash, like the speaker housings, some of the fittings, I pieced the front end back together. Now, I did purchase a Honda service manual for this bike, and like all factory service manuals, it has been an invaluable help. Putting the bike back together, though, is a slow process since the manual only provides 2-dimensional drawings, and if you recall, I didn't take this bike apart. A lot of the fittings and components were handed to me in pieces and containers, so there's definitely some trial and error in reassembling the complex dash and windscreen mechanisms. The other component I wanted to change out was the cruise control module. Now, it was damaged and is not an easy component to change. The module itself and the stay that holds it in place is easy enough, but getting to the throttle body to route and attach the cable is surprisingly difficult, requiring the removal of the Goldwing's fuel tank so that the lower portion of the airbox can be removed. The fuel tank on the Goldwing is a bit of a tight fit and needs to be extracted on an angle since it sits under the right side of the subframe. Removing the battery, relay housing, and of course the lines and electrical along with the mounting hardware is only half the battle. You need to forcibly pull the tank up and out. Once removed though, you can set it aside and now you have clear access to a lot of the bike with this massive 25-liter tank out of the way. Running the new cruise control cable completed, everything can go back together with the new air filter.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad.
With the front of the bike still exposed, I thought it would be prudent to change the 12-year-old fork oil. I mean, there wasn't going to be a better time, and I had the 10-weight Repsol fork oil already. Since the forks were not leaking and the bushings had such low miles, this was just going to be a simple dump and flush. I was surprised how bad the fork oil was though, just from sitting in a barn. This is a clear reminder that if you haven't replaced your fork oil in the past few years, you probably should. Along with this service, I flushed the brakes, changed the final drive oil, With all of these little services out of the way, I started reassembling all the good components I had for the bike and confirming what parts were going to be needed to put it back on the road. Part of this process was to polish out the multitude of scratches on the panniers. Now, I am no expert on this subject and have paid dearly for what I do know. The adage that experience is the one thing in life that you can't buy, but it sure costs a lot, has never been more apt for me than working with paint and bodywork. To start, I used a very light cutting compound and liberally worked it in. The Glint Wave Blue metallic paint on this Goldwing uses a two-part paint process. Say what you want about Japanese motorcycle finishes, two of the Hondas I currently own use a base silver and translucent top coat of color to get the metallic effect to their paint. This is not a cheap paint process on a mass-produced scale, and really elevates the finish in my opinion. Although beautiful paint, if you polish through the top layer, which is thin, you get to the silvery bit underneath very quickly, something I figured out on the VFR 1200F. Another cost in gaining my limited experience. The final rub from the wool polishing wheel is a quality Carbright wax. Here is the left saddlebag before and after. On this pannier, I was able to take out all of the scratches from the clear coat and the bag looks fine. The right pannier had a bit more damage, and after polishing as much as I dared, the result is a significant improvement, although not as good as the left bag. A few small nicks are still in the paint, reminiscent of rock chips, or where your wife drug her foot getting on and off the pillion. Overall, I was happy with the results, and even took to the severely damaged windscreen with my polisher to see how much of the scraping I could polish out. I have no intention of leaving this screen on the bike. I've already ordered a replacement, but I wanted to make sure the fittings were all there and working for the windscreen, since this is a bit of complex kit on a GL 1800. The bike reassembled with what was still usable, the only thing left was a test ride. The Goldwing has functional ride height, a repaired fairing stay and dash, but still needs front headlights, so this test ride was going to be short. I just wanted to check the shifting and handling of the bike, as well as anything that could be noted and cause an issue down the road. The test ride will check the clearances on the wiring harness I've reinstalled, as well as the general engine performance. Well, the Goldwing is alive and seems to operate as it should. At least that's what I can tell from the short ride around the neighborhood. I think it's the only proper thing to do and finish the cosmetics and put the bike on the road. Now the $6,500 question, bite the bullet and go OEM, or spend about 50% less and get some knockoff fairings from China and try to color match them to the Honda Glint Blue Wave. What do you think? You can comment below or head over to the community page and vote. Thanks for watching, and until next time, be sure to ride safe.